All right, it looks like we're about ready to start, everyone. One final reminder, please turn your video cameras on and leave them turned on for the duration. Again, you won't be seen unless you're actually speaking, so there's no harm in leaving it turned on the whole time. And with that, I think I'd like to say, Senator Taylor, looks like you've requested.
Good morning. Welcome, senators and members of the public watching on Wisconsin Eye today. Today, the Wisconsin State Senate is conducting its business in virtual setting, pursuant to the power granted under Section 13.42 of the Wisconsin statutes. Under this statute, the legislature, under its rules or joint rules, may issue a notice that the House and its committees are prevented from physically meeting at the seat of government due to an emergency resulting from a disaster or the imminent threat of a disaster. The Committee on Senate Organization issued such notice on April 13, 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is also for that reason that today this body will solely consider legislation regarding the state government response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's session will employ electronic voting. Members will click the A and No button. When the roll call is closed, the chief clerk will announce each member's vote. In the case of a voice vote, the electronic buttons will be used, and the presiding officer will determine the result upon seeing the numbers of A's and No's. Finally, I want to take a moment to thank the Legislative Technology Service Bureau, without whose tireless dedication today's virtual session simply would not be possible. So to the LTSB staff, the chief clerk's and sergeant's office, and all support staff, thank you for your service to this body. And with that, members, please ready yourselves as we begin. Please have the virtual session website up on your screen, and we will now begin with the first order of business, the call of the roll. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Bernier.
Here.
Senator Bewley. Senator Carpenter. Yes. I recorded Senator Bewley as present. I see you. Thank you. Senator Carpenter.
Senator Carpenter here, and I'd like to raise a point of order.
Senator Coles.
Can you repair it back to them how they voted?
Senator Carpenter was voted as here. Senator Coles.
Here.
Senator Craig.
Here.
Senator Craig is here. Senator Darling.
Here.
Senator Darling is present. Senator Erpenbach.
Here.
Senator Erpenbach is present. Senator Fine.
Here.
Senator Fine is present. Senator Fitzgerald.
Here.
Senator Fitzgerald is present. Senator Hansen.
I'm here.
Senator Hansen is present. Senator Jacques.
Here.
Senator Jacques is present. Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator Johnson is present. Senator Kappenga.
Here.
Senator Kappenga is present. Senator Koyenga.
Here.
Senator Koyenga is present. Senator Larson.
Here.
Senator Larson is present. Senator Lemieux. Senator Lemieux is present. Senator Markline.
Here.
Senator Markline is present. Senator Miller.
Here.
Senator Miller is present. Senator Nass.
Here.
Senator Nass is present. Senator Olson.
Here.
Senator Olson is present. Senator Petrowski.
Here.
Senator Petrowski is present. Senator Ringhan.
Here.
Senator Ringhan is present. Senator Risser. Senator Risser is present. Senator Roth.
Here.
Senator Schachner.
Here.
Senator Schachner is present. Senator Shilling.
Here.
Senator Shilling is present. Senator Smith.
Here, I am not seeing my voting
Senator
button.
Smith is present. Senator Strobel.
Here.
Senator Strobel is present. Senator Taylor. Senator Taylor is present. Senator Teston. Senator Teston is present. Senator Tiffany. Senator Tiffany. Senator Weingard.
Here.
Senator Weingard is present. Senator Wirch.
Here.
Senator Wirch is present. Senator Tiffany.
There are 32 members present. A quorum is present. In searching for the appropriate prayer to give this morning, I could look no further than the first prayer offered at the Continental Congress. This is an adaptation of that first prayer given in Philadelphia, September 7th, 1774. If members and guests would please join with me in prayer. O Lord, our heavenly Father, high and mighty King of kings and Lord of lords, who does from thy throne behold all the dwellers on earth, and reigns with power supreme and uncontrolled over all the kingdoms, empires, and governments. Look down in mercy, we beseech thee, in this our blessed state, as we throw ourselves on thy gracious protection, desiring to be henceforth dependent on thee. To thee have we appealed for that righteousness of our cause. To thee do we now look up for that countenance and support which thou alone can give. Take us therefore, Heavenly Father, under thy nurturing care. Give us wisdom in counsel, in valor, to defeat the malicious designs of our cruel adversary. Be thou present, O God of wisdom, and direct the counsels of this honorable Senate. Enable us to settle things on the best and surest foundation, that the scene of our current affliction may be speedily closed, that order, harmony, and peace may be effectually restored, and truth and justice, religion and piety prevail and flourish amongst the people. Preserve the health of our bodies and vigor of our minds. Shower down on us in the millions we here represent such temporal blessings as thou seest expedient for us in this world, and crown us with everlasting glory in the world to come. All this we ask in the name and through the merits of Jesus Christ, thy Son and our Savior. Amen. And now, if senators would stand as they are able, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're now in the eighth order of business, messages from the Assembly. The clerk will read the message.
Message from the Assembly by Patrick Fuller, Chief Clerk. Mr. President, I am directed to inform you that the Assembly has passed and asked concurrence in Assembly Bill 1038.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th, Senator Fitzgerald.
Mr. President, I move that Assembly Bill 1038 be referred to and withdrawn from the Joint Committee on Finance.
The question is, shall Assembly Bill 1038 pursuant to the special rules adopted for the extraordinary session, Assembly Bill 1038 is now before us. The clerk will read the title of the bill.
Assembly Bill 1038, relating to state government response to the COVID-19 pandemic, by Committee on Assembly Organization, Representatives Voss and Steinecke, co-sponsored by Senator Fitzgerald.
Now I call on the senator from the 13th to renew his motion to refer and withdraw to the Joint Committee on Finance. Senator from the 13th.
Mr. President, I move that Assembly Bill 1038 be withdrawn from the Joint Committee on Finance at this time.
The question is, shall Assembly Bill 1038 be referred to and withdrawn from the Joint Committee on Finance? Members, this is an electronic voice vote. Please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. All those in favor of dipping the bill to the Joint Committee on Finance will click aye. Those opposed click no. The ayes have it. The bill is referred to and withdrawn from the Joint Committee on Finance. The question is adoption of Senate Substitute Amendment 1 to Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 11th, seemingly overnight, daily life for Wisconsinites and the nation changed dramatically. 2 weeks later, Governor Evers issued a stay-at-home order. Days before the shelter-in-place order, the Evers administration sent a proposal to legislative leadership asking for tools that the executive branch could use in the short term to help mitigate the virus spread. While many of the items were reasonable, the financial commitment that the governor sought from the state was nearly $1 billion. It also included some sufficiency for agency operations. We did not believe that the state could make that decision or that the state could afford $1 billion at the time. That same week, Congress passed the $2 trillion CARES Act, the largest emergency spending measure in U.S. history, with roughly $2 billion of it earmarked for the state of Wisconsin. Knowing that federal relief was on the way, legislative leadership crafted a bill taking input from the governor, from his bill, from Republican and Democrat legislators. I want to thank Leader Hintz and Senator Shilling for their input along the way. We also spoke with agencies and with stakeholders, while at the same time making preparations to conduct a virtual legislative session and to allow the legislature to convene while maintaining social distancing CDC guidelines. These are extraordinary times, and these decisions are gut-wrenching as we move through them. Today, though, we are voting on a bill that I thought received good debate and discussion in the Assembly yesterday. It does give the executive branch much-needed tools to deal with public health crisis. It provides relief to those who unexpectedly find themselves out of work. It provides emergency fund to the Joint Finance Committee of $75 million so that we can react to unforeseen challenges that may not be covered by the federal assistance. It captures hundreds of millions of additional federal dollars that will go towards healthcare for our state's most vulnerable populations. It loosens restrictions on healthcare workers to ensure all hands on deck approach can move forward without excessive red tape. And then finally, the bill protects our state budget that must stay solvent to ensure that K-12 education, infrastructure, and essential operations are adequately funded in the face of a massive decline in tax revenue, which is happening in this state each and every day. This bill is imperfect, and it might be the first bill of a number that we are going to have to pass in the legislature. But it is timely, and I think it's been well thought out, and I think it will help. Wisconsinites have endured great sacrifice, and the measures that we have taken and that the governor has taken so far are working. We aim to reopen the economy as soon as possible and get back to the normal lives that we all were very used to living. Even though the world may look different for the foreseeable future, this bill is bipartisan, it's common sense. We need to do this today to get it to the governor's desk. And I urge all my colleagues to support this piece of legislation. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd.
Thank you. Are we on the amendment? I would like to, okay. I guess I would like to open by first saying that we find ourselves in historic times. Unprecedented that we would ever anticipate meeting virtually like this, ever anticipate what our state has had to deal with the last 4 weeks. I think in times of crisis, individuals' character shine through. And we have seen that character in countless efforts across our community and our state the last 4 weeks. We have seen persistence, we have seen strength, we have seen generosity, and we have seen Wisconsin's moxie at its best. That character and determination and nerve. This has been unimaginable what our citizens have been asked to deal with. We are in the midst of an ongoing pandemic. Over 3,500 confirmed cases and 170 deaths in just the past month here in Wisconsin. But there's more behind those numbers. The numbers don't tell the true story. It is one of resilience and grit and innovation. It is families and businesses and communities that have stepped up to do their part in this fight. They've adjusted their lives, they've changed habits literally overnight, and they have done their part to stop the spread of the virus. And while the governor and this administration have taken decisive and proactive measures to protect our state and the health of our welfare of our citizens, this legislature has yet to rise to the challenge. Many in the majority party continue to downplay the significance of this crisis. It is hard to see the unseeable or know the unknowable. The massive threat to public health and this long-term nature of this pandemic is something that is hard for us to grapple with. We all want our offices, our churches, our bars, our restaurants to return to business as usual. Everyone in this chamber understands the enormous financial challenges that lie ahead. But our number one priority right now needs to be the health and safety of each and every resident. That is why it is disappointing that the plan before us today is limited in scope. I know we will have bipartisan support. But to his credit, Governor Evers and his agency heads, several who are still waiting for their confirmation vote, have put together a comprehensive and forward-looking plan that provides immediate relief and assistance to communities that they desperately need. It anticipates the future challenges that will need to be addressed for workers, businesses, schools, frontline workers, tourism, agriculture, the industries that make Wisconsin go. The amendment that is before us, our First Amendment, provides immediate relief to hospitals and to our frontline emergency responders so they can continue to serve and protect our communities. The amendment before us recognizes the challenging economic environment and fully repeals the 1-week waiting period for unemployment benefits so families can get back on their feet faster. It is an effort to put money in the hands of our working families, our workers, who, no fault of their own, have had to find ways to process claims either in person or online. A system through our DWD that has been flooded with up to 25,000 claims in a day. This amendment includes resources to support local businesses, farmers, child care providers, food banks, meal delivery programs, and infrastructure needs. Much of this we have seen our citizens step up over the last 4 weeks to figure out how they can help their communities. And through it all, no one has asked, who do they vote for? No one has asked, are you a Republican or a Democrat? We as Wisconsinites, we step up to this challenge, and we want to find ways to help our neighbors, our families, and our community. The amendment reflects the true scope and severity of this crisis, and even this may only be a first step. Now, knowing when the governor introduced his first two packages, we weren't aware fully of what the CARES Act entailed. And so I think as we look at this amendment before us, we know that there will be federal dollars here to assist us, to flow to our agencies so that we can get those resources and services out to our fellow Wisconsinites. So I know some of this may be broad, but yes, we will use our federal dollars first and draw those down and to maximize the deployment of those federal dollars throughout Wisconsin before looking to our own state general revenue dollars. If you're not willing to support this proposal, then our work here isn't done. We can't expect communities to fight this virus with both hands tied behind their back. We need to give them the tools and the flexibility that they need to meet the unique and unprecedented challenges that they are facing at this moment. We can't afford to wait another month for action as the number of confirmed cases and fatalities rise higher and higher. We need bold, decisive, forward-looking action now to protect public health and prevent economic turmoil. I implore you to recognize the significance of this moment and support this amendment, as we need to help the recovery and stabilize our economy, stabilize our businesses, our infrastructure, and our Wisconsin families. People are hurting. People are nervous. People are troubled. People are scared. And so to look to leadership from their state government, the governor was elected. People trusted his vision. Now, we didn't know that we would find ourselves in a pandemic, but to know that we need to have the resources to offer more testing, we need the resources of PPE for people on the front lines, not just the healthcare workers, but others, to know that we need to help stabilize our rural communities. This is the time to act. And while today I know that we will support a measure that is narrower in scope and it attends to the immediate needs of this state, removing the 1 week delay on unemployment, looking at maximizing federal Medicaid dollars to this state for quarterly for $150 million. But know that healthcare workers, know that childcare workers, manufacturing, construction, tourism, those industries of small business still need our help. And so I ask you to support this amendment as we move forward. Thank you. And I'd like a roll call on this amendment.
The question is adoption of Senate Substitute Amendment 1 to Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th.
Mr. President, I move tabling.
The senator from the 13th moves tabling. Members, please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. All those in favor of concurrence will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. Has every member voted as they wish on concurrence on tabling of Senate Substitute Amendment 1?
Am I in there? Oh, no? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Has every member voted as they wished on tabling of Senate Substitute Amendment 1? If so, the clerk will close the electronic voting system. The clerk will now call out how each Senate member voted. Senators, please listen carefully to make sure your vote was recorded properly.
Senator Bernier. Senator Bewley.
No.
Carpenter. Coles.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Darling.
Aye.
Erpenbach.
No.
Fine.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Hanson.
No.
Jacques.
Aye.
Johnson.
No.
Kapinga.
Aye.
Koyenga.
Aye.
Larson.
No.
Lemieux.
Aye.
Markline. Miller.
No.
Nass.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Petrowski.
Aye.
Ringhan. Risser. Roth. Schachner.
No.
Shilling.
No?
Smith.
No.
Strobel.
Aye.
Taylor.
No.
Teston.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Wangard.
Aye.
Wirch.
No.
All members have voted in the affirmative, with the exception of Senators Bewley, Erpenbach, Hanson, Johnson, Larson, Miller, Schachner, Shilling, Smith, Taylor, and Wirch.
At this time, for the purpose of recording their vote, Senator from Senator from the 3rd, how do you wish to have your vote recorded?
Mis- Mr. President, I raise a point of order.
Senator from the 3rd, right now we are in the middle of a roll call. I see that you had not voted, and this is an opportunity for you to record your vote. How do you wish to have your vote recorded? Senator from the 3rd.
Mr. President, I've been pressing the button to request to raise an inquiry
Senator from the 3rd, all I need right now is a yay or a nay. I'll give you one more opportunity here before we move on. How do you wish to have your vote recorded?
I wish to be recognized, Mr. President, and you're ignoring my...
Senator from the 3rd, we are going to move on. And as a reminder to all members who who may not have had an opportunity to have their vote recorded, please send an email to the clerk staff and they will be able to note in the journal how you intended to vote. There are 17 ayes, 11 noes. The amendment is tabled. The question now is adoption of Senate Amendment 1 to Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 16th.
I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, and the members who are joining us here virtually, Wisconsin's political leaders were roundly criticized for conducting the spring election in the midst of a world pandemic. A pandemic which was approaching a period of projected rapid contagion in Wisconsin. Mr. President, most voters were able to avail themselves of the absentee voting option without a problem, but many who tried to vote absentee were confronted with state election laws which proved to be particularly problematic during a pandemic which mandated social distancing in place. Among these problems was a failure to receive a ballot. Another was the requirement to obtain a witness to the voter signature on the voter certification document. Yet another was the requirement to upload a photo ID to obtain an absentee ballot when many people did not have that capability in their homes where they were sequencing, saying to keep themselves isolated at home. And yet another was the postal services being completely unprepared for a sudden volume of mail. There was a flurry of court decisions which confused the voting requirements for voters. Mr. President, staffing at many polling locations was a major problem, reducing the number of polling places in Milwaukee from 180 to just 5. We do not know what the status of COVID-19 contagion will be in the fall. Will it have seasonal variability? Will it be stronger than today? Will there be a vaccination to provide immunity? Will there be a variant that is even more lethal than what we experienced this spring? Mr. President, our current election laws do not anticipate running an election during a pandemic. Today is likely the last time this body will convene before the election. Although I did hear the majority leader indicate we were going to be meeting likely on a number of issues. Today, now is the time, Mr. President, to take the steps necessary in case we have to confront a similar pandemic in the fall. For the spring election, we have the option of delaying the election. That is not an option for the presidential election. The business of the country must go forward. Mr. President, I would hope that if this amendment does not pass, that we will have assurances that we will take action to protect the voters in the fall election if we are still confronting this pandemic. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 7th.
All right, can you guys hear? Hopefully. All right, thanks guys. Hopefully you can hear me. To reiterate the points made by Senator from the 16th, we do not have another chance to be able to come in. I think people are already recognizing the the frustration that exists from being able to debate in this restricted format. We already have folks who have requested absentee ballots for August and requested them for November. And the reality is that if we do not act on these bills, it is going to be that much harder for our neighbors to exercise the most fundamental right, the right to vote, the right that allows them to change an unjust system. So this package that is this amendment addresses those things head on by making sure that every single registered voter gets an absentee ballot and can vote safely from home. I think we saw the national embarrassment that was, hopefully if people have seen the echoes of that, where you have a legislator dressed head to toe in protective gear saying it's perfectly safe to go out when at the same time people do not have access to that gear. And frankly, we have nurses and health professionals who do not have that gear. And so for us, this is about public safety while preserving democracy. If we're able to convene in this type of a session just to be able to debate and pass something that's going to help our neighbors, I think it's ridiculous for us to expect them to go out in public and vote. Considering that both the state Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court forwarded their rulings virtually requiring in-person voting, I think sends that message as well. So this would require, as a broad outline, requires municipal clerks and Board of Election Commissioners to send all registered voters an absentee ballot via the mail no less than 7 days before an election or primary, allows municipalities to canvass absentee ballots beginning on the Sunday before an election, so we don't have a delay in election results. It allows for the extension of requesting an absentee ballot to Thursday before the election. It allows mailed absentee ballots to be postmarked on the day of the election and received by the municipal clerk or Board of Election Commissioners by the third day after the election. So folks get in their vote. It removes the requirement for photo identification, which has proved precarious for many of our neighbors with restricted DMV hours and access to a photocopier or a system to download it. It allows for voter registration and absentee ballot through an agent, something we had done in this state up until a few years ago. It allows for in-person absentee voting through the Sunday before an election, so giving people that option who might not have a mailbox or might be homeless. And waives the witness signature requirement on absentee ballots, again, for folks that don't want to expose themselves to the public out of necessity. And it allows the election commissioner to alter nomination signature requirements as it sees fit. So, again, something that everyone's going to have to face starting today for being able to get nomination signatures. So top lines, and effective democracy is the heart of our nation, and during a declared state of emergency, we need to make sure that that remains unchanged. It's intended to ease the burden on the public, as well as maintain electoral integrity and access to the ballots. We cannot allow any of our neighbors to be disenfranchised. We must be doing all we can to protect democracy, protect our neighbors, and make sure that we can get through this stronger than when we started. So if you agree with the preservation of a democracy, I would hope that you would join us in supporting this common sense legislation, this common sense amendment to this bill. Thank you.
The question is adoption of Senate Amendment 1 to Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th.
Mr. President, I move tabling on the amendment.
Roll call.
They're all roll call. The senator from the 13th moves tabling on Senate Amendment 1 to Assembly Bill 1038. All those in favor of concurrence will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. Has every member voted as they wish on the concurrence in Assembly Bill 1038? I'm sorry, let me repeat that. Has every member voted as they wished on tabling of Assembly Bill of Senate Amendment 1 to Assembly Bill 1038? The clerk will now call out how each member voted. Senators, please listen carefully to make sure your vote was recorded properly.
Senator Bernier.
Aye.
Bewley.
No.
Carpenter. Coles.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Darling.
Aye.
Erpenbach.
No.
Fine.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Hanson.
No.
Jacques.
Aye.
Johnson.
No.
Kappenga.
Aye.
Koenga.
Aye.
Larson.
No.
Lemieux.
Aye.
Markline. Miller.
No.
Nass.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Petrowski.
Aye.
Ringhan.
No.
Risser.
No.
Roth.
Aye.
Schachner.
No.
Shilling.
No?
Smith.
No.
Strobel.
Aye.
Taylor. Teston.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Wangard.
Aye.
Wirch.
No.
All members have voted in the affirmative with the exception of Senators Bewley, Erpenbach, Hanson, Johnson, Larson, Miller, Ringhan, Risser, Schachner, Shilling, Smith, and Wirch.
At this time, the chair will take inquiries to record votes properly. Chair recognizes Senator from the 4th. Senator from the 4th, how do you wish to be recorded? Senator from the 4th, how do you wish to be recorded? Senator from the 17th, how do you wish to be recorded? Senator from the 17th.
I wish to be recorded as an aye.
Senator from the 17th wishes to be recorded as an aye. Senator from the 3rd, how do you wish to be recorded? Senator from the 3rd, how do you wish to be recorded? There are 19 ayes, 12 noes. The bill is concurred in. I would remind members, if you send an email, if you feel your vote was recorded improperly, please send an email to the clerk staff, and they will note that correctly in the journal. At this time, we are on adoption of Senate Amendment 2 to Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to this amendment. We always feel that tension between short and long-term goals in any legislation, and of course, we deal with that today. The legislation before us today will pass, as it should, but in my mind, it lacks the depth, the immediacy, the hard work of the governor and his staff, and we are left with a skeleton that lacks muscle, it lacks real content. It offers little now to help the families, farmers, those living in poverty, people without the internet, small businesses, all the people who are suffering in this pandemic. But far worse than that, it fails the future. We pretend that this episode is a one-off. It'll disappear soon and not bother us again. Something will happen again, either with this pandemic or something else. And it's our job to admit that and act now on the difficult realities that cannot be dismissed by this desire to return to normal. We cannot glibly toss off a remark that the legislature can always meet again and take things up, because it's obvious that we will not convene again before the end of the year. We must create now the structure, the readiness to deal quickly with events that will again shake us to our core. If it doesn't take a pandemic to wake us up, what will? We must give the governor the ability to do his job in an emergency. The vote is no on tabling. Thank you.
The question is adoption of Senate Amendment 2 to Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 27th. Senator from the 27th, if you would start your video. Your video is not started currently, but we do have your audio, so you may proceed with your remarks. Senator from the 27th. The Senate will stand informal for just a moment. At this time, the chair recognizes the senator from the 27th. Senator from the 27th, please click the unmute button in the yellow bar on your screen. The Senate will stand informal for just one more moment.
All right. Okay, thanks. All right, so I just talk. Look, okay, good. Thanks.
Senator from the 27th, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry about the technical difficulties on my end. Senator from the 25th touched on a lot of what I wanted to talk about, and she's right on everything she said. It's extremely important that the governor have some flexibility to deal with the issues that are facing the state of Wisconsin, and issues obviously are almost daily. The last thing I think Wisconsinites want to have to worry about is the legislature taking another 30 days to meet to okay the provisions that are in 1038 to extend them if the governor happens to issue an order, either a new order or tries to extend the current order. So this amendment is really simple. The provisions that we're going to pass today expire when the order expires. So it just allows the provisions in this legislation to move forward if the governor issues a new order or extends the current order. And again, I got to remind my colleagues, Mr. President, it took us 30 days to get to this point. When the governor issued the Stay Safer at Home order, it's been 30 days to put together a piece of legislation and to move forward and try and help Wisconsinites who are struggling right now. That's too long, and there's really no excuse for that. So again, I don't want Wisconsinites having to bank on the fact that the legislature will get together as soon as they possibly can to deal with an extension from the governor when, again, it took us 30 days to get to this point today. So I would hope that you support the amendment. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th, Senator Fitzgerald.
Mr. President, I move tabling.
The senator from the 13th moves tabling of Senate Amendment 2 to Assembly Bill 1038. Members, please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. All those in favor of tabling will vote aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will now open the electronic voting system. Has every member voted as they wish on tabling of Senate Amendment 2 to Assembly Bill 1038? Has every member voted as they wish? If so, the clerk will close the electronic voting system. The clerk will now call out how each member voted. Senators, please listen carefully to make sure your vote was recorded properly.
Senator Bernier.
No.
Bewley.
Oh, sorry, Bernier's yes. Bewley's no.
Bernier is a yes. Bewley.
No.
You have your mic on?
Yes.
Carpenter. Coles.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Darling.
Aye.
Erpenbach.
No.
Fine.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Hanson.
No.
Jacques.
Aye.
Johnson. Kappenga.
Aye.
Koenga.
Aye.
Larson.
No.
Lemieux.
Aye.
Markline.
Aye.
Miller.
No.
Nass.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Petrowski.
Aye.
Ringhan.
No.
Risser. Roth.
Aye.
Schachner.
No.
Shilling.
No.
Smith.
No.
Strobel.
Aye.
Taylor. Teston.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Wangard.
Aye.
Wirch.
No.
All members have voted in the affirmative with the exception of Senators Bewley, Erpenbach, Hanson, Larson, Miller, Ringhan, Schachner, Shilling, Smith, and Wirch.
At this time, the chair will entertain any requests and inquiries of the chair to record votes. Seeing no requests, there are 19 ayes, 10 noes. The amendment is tabled. Again, I would just remind members that if your vote If you feel your vote was recorded improperly, please email the clerk's office and they will be able to record that correctly. The question is, shall the bill be ordered to a third reading and given a third reading? Members, this is an electronic voice vote. Please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. All those in favor of ordering the bill to a third reading and given its third reading, click aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is ordered to a third reading. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 1038, relating to state government response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now the question is concurrence in Assembly Bill 1038, and the Senate will stand informal for just a moment. The Senate is back in session. The question before us is concurrence in Assembly Bill 1038. The chair recognizes the senator from the 4th. Senator from the 4th, if you would click the unmute, we can see you, but if you could click the unmute button on the yellow bar on your screen. Senator, just stand by a second. LTSB is going to reach out to you, so if you just stand by. Senator from the 4th, while we wait, LTSB is going to reach out to you. So Senator from the 4th, LTSB will reach out to you at this time. The chair recognizes the senator from the 6th. The senator from the 6th has the floor. And Senator from the 6th, if you could press the unmute button on the yellow bar on your screen.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You may
Yes,
proceed.
we can. You may proceed. Okay. These are some unprecedented times, with the exception of one thing. And that one thing is that African Americans all over this country and in this city are dying needlessly because of COVID-19 and because of underlying conditions. I represent the Sherman Park community as well as the St. Joseph's community. I live in Sherman Park. Milwaukee has been the epicenter of this pandemic. Out of 3,682 cases of COVID-19, 1,892 of those cases are right here in Milwaukee County. Out of 176 deaths, 101 of those deaths are right here in Milwaukee County. Session after session, budget after budget, we have seen these disparities in minority communities, and time after time, we have not done enough to address these issues. And we know that some of our frontline workers, especially here in Milwaukee County, a lot of those individuals happen to be minorities, African American descent, Latina, and they work in industries where they don't have the luxury like we do of going to work via a virtual session. They are out there on the front lines, and they are the ones that are providing this state with some form of normalcy during these times. They are our firefighters, our police officers, our grocery store workers, our pharmacy workers, our postal carriers, our sanitation workers, the individuals who clean up in our hospitals. A lot of these individuals have pre-existing conditions, but they go to work every day. We just had an election last week, Tuesday, where people were forced to go to the polls in the midst of a pandemic. And one of our colleagues, I won't say the name, was caught on camera in full-on PPE gear, from the goggles to the gloves, to the gown, to the foot protection, to the mask. These are items that a lot of our frontline workers don't have. Our postal carriers don't have the privilege of dressing in PPE gear every day, nor do our firefighters or our police officers, but they still do their jobs. And nowhere in this bill that's just passed are they going to receive hazard pay. They get up and they do the unthinkable. And many of them do the unthinkable for far less pay than we're making right now. This body has a lot of privilege. And I wish I had the luxury of not talking about the disparities in my community. But I don't have that opportunity because they exist everywhere I look and live. When we forced individuals to go to the polls to vote on Tuesday, we forced my community to choose between their right to vote and the safety and their lives. And we still may never know the outcome of all those who will be hurt by making that choice. And they did it without any PPE protection. They did it because they felt it was their civic duty. And as their legislature, I cannot stand by without reminding us that we don't just govern for where we represent, we govern for the entire state. And if my district is being put in harm's way needlessly, that should affect every last one of us. It shouldn't be a Milwaukee versus any other community thing. We should be doing our job, and that is to protect our constituents and to protect their life and safety. And we have failed to do that. This legislation is a first start, and I'm going to be forced to vote for it, and it's going to pass. But there is far more that needs to be done. And we need to do our job and protect those individuals that are most vulnerable. Those individuals deserve hazard pay. They deserve to go home to their families and not put their families at risk And we most definitely need to make sure that they get every penny that they deserve for literally doing God's work. Something that this body thus far has failed to do.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we've had another senator who wanted to speak. We're having some technical difficulty. I hope we can get that connected. But I guess I also want to put some perspective on where we're at. And while this bill will pass, it is far from perfect. It is imperfect. And while we know one of the most important things that we have heard that we need to address is relieving that 1 week wait time for unemployment insurance, this bill does that. We can capitalize on some additional federal money, and hardworking men and women through no fault of their own who find themselves in an unfamiliar place of putting a claim in to DWD, we can remove that 1 week wait period. The second thing is maximizing federal Medicaid dollars into this state. And we have heard over and over the missed opportunities that this legislature has not acted upon to deal with Medicaid dollars here in this state, federal health care dollars. And so today we will be able to, up against the clock, the calendar of later this week of what has to happen to get this bill signed or onto the governor's desk and signed, we'll be able to do that. Some of the things that happened with waivers of oversight that the majority party wanted to do earlier this year, we are having to remove those waivers. The unintended or intended consequences of your previous legislative action, we are removing those waivers. We are directing the Finance Committee for some general purpose revenue dollars to address needs that agencies and ultimately our communities are going to have. This was a difficult place to get to. Fortunately, we removed oversight of joint finance on unilateral budget cuts and agencies. However, again, this is a first step. There is more that needs to be done. And the critical immediate needs that we are voting on today, the long-term needs don't go away. More testing is needed, more PPEs available. Bridge loans to help businesses who are just treading water and don't know if they're going to be able to come back. What we're doing with our diverse economy of manufacturing and tourism, service industry. This pandemic is not going to be over on May 11th. And the ripple effect of what has happened to our state and our economy and our communities and our families and financial insecurity that is going to still be in existence doesn't end on May 11th. I implore this body, I implore this legislature to know that we have to come back. That there are going to be things and issues that we need to continue to address. And there are concerns about communities of stepping up to feed food insecurity, feed their most vulnerable. There are concerns about tracking racial data on COVID-19. We recognize that the governor and his administration will have $1.9 billion. But we also know that some of those federal dollars will not be able to be used for some of our state needs. So while this bill will pass today with bipartisan support, it is far from perfect. It is imperfect. It is the first step to COVID recovery in this state. It is the first step to trying to return to some economic security, that this is not a one and done. And so I thank you for the patience. This has been troubling and frustrating to get through this, to get to this point. But we will continue to need collaboration and communication between the legislature and this administration to continue to deploy resources across this state. As we look to flatten the curve, look to return to normal, whatever normal looks like, whatever those benchmarks are, those metrics that we return and we open up again. And so I again hope that this legislature realizes that our work is not done. Today is not the end. This is just the beginning. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th. Senator from the 13th, if you can unmute your microphone, pressing the button on the yellow bar.
Got it. Mr. President, I move the Senate vote immediately on the main question.
The senator from the 13th moves that the Senate vote immediately on the main question. The motion is non-debatable. The question is, shall the Senate vote immediately on the main question? Members, please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. All those in favor of concurrence will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. Has everyone voted on they wish? Has every member voted as they wish on calling the question? Has every member voted as they wish? If so, the clerk will close the electronic voting system. The clerk will now call out how each member voted. Senators, please listen carefully to make sure your vote was recorded properly.
Senator Bernier.
Aye.
Senator Bewley.
No.
Carpenter. Coles.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Darling.
Aye.
Erpenbach.
No.
Fine.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Hanson.
No.
Jacques.
Aye.
Johnson.
No.
Kappenga.
Aye.
Koenga.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Lemieux.
Aye.
Markline.
Aye.
Miller.
No.
Nass.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Petrowski.
Aye.
Ringhan.
Aye.
Risser.
No.
Roth.
Aye.
Schachner. Shilling.
No.
Shilling is a no. Smith.
No.
Strobel.
Aye.
Taylor. Teston.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Wangard.
Aye.
Wirch.
Aye.
All members have voted in the affirmative with the exception of Senators Bewley, Erpenbach, Hanson, Johnson, Miller, Risser, Shilling, and Smith.
The chair has requests for inquiry for members to record their votes. The chair recognizes the senator from the 10th. Senator from the 10th, how do you wish to have your vote recorded? Senator from the 10th.
No.
Senator from the 10th votes no.
No.
Senator from the 4th, how do you wish to have your vote recorded? Senator from the 4th.
Mr. President, can you hear me?
Senator from the 4th, how do you wish to have your vote recorded?
Mr. President, I didn't get to speak.
My apologies, Senator from the 4th, but we are in a roll call now. How do you wish to have your vote recorded? Senator from the 4th, I'm going to ask you one more time. You're muted at the moment. Senator from the 4th. Senator from the 3rd. Senator from the 3rd, how do you wish to have your vote recorded?
Mr. President, I've been ignored all day today.
Senator from the 3rd, we are in the middle of a roll call. The chair would entertain a yay or a nay. How does the senator from the 3rd wish to be recorded?
I object to the way you're running this meeting.
Senator from the 3rd. Again, we are in the middle of we are in a roll call. There are 22 ayes, 9 noes. The motion passes. I would remind members that you can email the clerk staff to have your vote recorded the way you intended if you were not able to do so. The question now is concurrence in Assembly Bill 1038. The motion to vote immediately has passed. Members, please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. All those in favor of concurrence will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. Has everyone voted as they wish on the concurrence in Assembly Bill 1038? Has every member voted as they wish? If so, the clerk will now close the electronic voting system. The clerk will now call out how each member voted. Senators, please listen carefully to make sure your vote was recorded properly.
Senator Bernier.
Aye.
Bewley.
Aye.
Carpenter. Coles.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Darling.
Aye.
Erpenbach.
Aye.
Fine.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Jacques.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kapinga.
Aye.
Koenga.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Lemieux.
Aye.
Markline.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Nass.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Petrowski.
Aye.
Ringhan.
Aye.
Risser.
Aye.
Roth.
Aye.
Schachner.
Aye.
Schilling.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Strobel.
Aye.
Taylor. Teston.
Aye.
Tiffany.
Aye.
Wongard.
Aye.
Wirch.
Aye.
All members have voted in the affirmative.
At this time, the chair would recognize inquiries of the chair to record votes. Seeing none, there are 31 ayes, 0 noes. The bill is concurred in. The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th.
Are we doing adjournment?
Mr. President, I move that all of the Senate's action be immediately messaged to the Assembly.
The question is, shall all the Senate's action be immediately messaged to the Assembly? Members, this is an electronic voice vote. Please use the virtual voting system on your screen to vote. The clerk will now open the electronic voting system. All those in favor of messaging all the Senate's all those in favor of messaging the Senate's action immediately to the Assembly, please click aye. Those opposed, no.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The bill is messaged to the Assembly. The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th. The Senate will stand informal for just a moment. The Senate is back in session. The chair recognizes the senator from the 13th.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the April 2020 extraordinary session adjourn pursuant to Senate Joint Resolution 1.
Without objection, so ordered. The 2020 extraordinary session is now adjourned.
Hi, I'm John Henkes, President of Wisconsin-I Public Affairs Network, and I'm speaking to you today to ask for your financial support. For 14 years, Wisconsin-I has provided uninterrupted, gavel-to-gavel live coverage from our state capitol, the legislature, the Supreme Court, the governor's office. We're proud to continue to do that and continue through this time of crisis with important coverage. We are 100% committed to bringing these important meetings into your home or place of work. We've created online pathways that allow us to connect you live with these important events. But Wisconsin-I needs your help to do so. At this time, we are facing unprecedented staffing, technical, and financial challenge. So if you rely on our coverage to stay informed on issues you care and need to know about, I ask that you consider a one-time charitable gift today to help us through this challenge. Whether you're following the DHS briefings, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, or leadership briefings from the state capitol, or any of the timely interviews conducted by our senior producer, Steve Walters, we could use your support today. If just a fraction of the thousands who value Wisconsin Eye coverage say yes with a gift of any size, it will provide a huge boost. So thank you. To donate, please text WISEYE to 44321. That's WISEYE to 44321, or visit wiseye.org/donate. WISEYE.org/donate. Or you could send a check to 122 West Washington Avenue, Suite 200, Madison, Wisconsin, 53703. Again, thank you so much. Please be safe. Stay optimistic. We are Wisconsin.
This program is a production of Wisconsin Eye, an independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit media network with a mission to inform, educate, and engage the citizens of Wisconsin. Wisconsin Eye is the nation's first and only independently funded state civics broadcast network, providing gavel-to-gavel access to government proceedings and events at the state capitol.